Hi guys, welcome back to the Social Tune, and today it's our first solo review in a while for the highly requested latest album by the Mountain Goths, Goths.
No one broke D.B. Cooper's fall. No one hopes to hear the bagman call. Children piping in the main square, but no one's dancing. No one's dancing down. The river goes where the water flows. No one knows where the back gate closed.
So here we have the first album that I didn't check out before making my mid-year list that you guys won't shut up about. And look, while I know that some of you requested this as legitimate fans of the Mountain Goths, let's be honest, most of you requested this because it ended up topping Mark from Spectrum Pulse's list of the best albums of the year so far. And as someone who has been watching his channel for many years, respects his opinion, and according to many of you guys has been highly influenced by him, I was definitely curious either way. But I was also a little worried. Because see, I had actually heard snippets of this album before diving into it to review it, and had intentionally avoided it. Because, well, I've been a casual fan of the Mountain Goths for a number of years now, and this album promised to switch up their sound, particularly the guitar-driven side, pretty drastically. But hey, bands can evolve, and from what every single critic has told me, this was something that would at least interest me. And so I gave it many listens, followed by several more, until I finally adjusted to the change in sound. And so, is it so amazing to me that it has a chance to top my own year-end list? Honestly, no. 2017 has been such a strong year so far that it honestly doesn't really have a shot at even the top 5. But the top 10? That's a different matter, because yes, this album is phenomenal. A deeply complex, emotional, and yet somehow almost childishly simple project that I enjoyed the hell out of. And the main reason that it took me this long to get around to reviewing it is the production.
Used to get paid by the grand. Long Beach, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Long Beach.
Now, if you were to ask me which genre I would typically associate the Mountain Goths with, I would say indie and folk rock with a particularly guitar-driven sound. And right off the bat, let me make it clear that this isn't necessarily my favorite album of theirs on an instrumental level. However, I will say that the sound that they are trying out here is by no means a bad one. In fact, it's kind of inspired, which we'll get more into once I discuss the theme of this album. The album opens up with the easy highlight Rain in Soho, with the echoing choral vocals, its strident drums and its ominous piano setting a very striking opening image for the rest of the album. However, that's pretty much as menacing as this album gets, as a lot of this instrumentation is much more low-key. Like the lo-fi for the Portuguese metal bands and Stench of the Unburied, the gorgeous harmonies on the melodic ballad Wear Black, and best of all, the phenomenal horns on Abandoned Flesh and Paid in Cocaine, especially with the electric keyboard touches on the former. But just like on the opener, the unsung hero on this album is the drum, courtesy of John Worster, who brings a phenomenal groove to songs like Andrew Eldritch is Moving Back to Leeds. And of course, a lot of these songs, like Rain in Soho and We Do It Different on the West Coast, are also supported by great bass lines, which you can thank Peter Hughes for. But the main one who will probably get the most attention, and rightfully so, is our frontman John Darnielle.
To the unmarked rooms where the dry dust breathes. Andrew Eldritch is moving back to Leeds.
To put it mildly, I'm a big fan of this guy's voice. I can understand if it feels a bit lightweight at first, but here, more than any of the other Mountain Goths' albums, it really does work to his advantage. See, this guy's voice isn't overstated in the least. It's distinctive, but it doesn't ring with power like Josh Tillman or Nick Cave. Instead, it's very vulnerable, quivering, cracking, and mostly sticking in his upper range. It's especially noticeable on The Grey King and the Silver Flame attunement, as he proclaims, "I'm hardcore, but I'm not that that hardcore, steadily becoming more hushed and desperate as the song goes on until he can finally barely get the words out the final time. And the other reason why a lot of these songs sound so good is the multi-tracking and the harmonies on songs like Wear Black and Paid in Cocaine. But enough dancing around the issue, let's get into why this album really does work as well as it does the lyrics.
The ride's over, I know, but I'm not ready to go.
I'll just cut to the chase. This is an album that explores goth culture from multiple angles, going very deep. And not just people in the goth culture, but also people coming into it, leaving it, or those who are sidelined by it. A prime example of that last one is Rage of Travers, where an old 70s rocker finds himself shunned and sidelined by the new prevalent goth culture, leaving him completely stranded in its wake, just a relic of the past. And then on the flip side, you have a song like Andrew Eldritch is Moving Back to Leeds, where Andrew Eldritch, the frontman of Sisters of Mercy, one of the biggest stars in the scene, returns to his hometown to play in a bar where almost nobody shows up, highlighting how so many outside of and even a few within the goth scene forgot about it so quickly, even some of the biggest names in the scene. And if that's how it is for him, just imagine what it's like for the lesser known bands, which John addresses on the two closing tracks, Abandoned Flesh and For the Portuguese goth metal bands. The ones that no one remembers outside of a select few, and yet their craft is no less important to them. Hence why you have the musician on Shelved refusing to dumb down his music to appeal to a more mainstream audience, which he pays for by having his album shelved by his record company, never to see the light of day. Because the goth scene, while different and varied across the world with many different subcultures, was beloved by many people. That's why it managed to spread so far, and as he points out on We Do It Different on the West Coast, while they may celebrate it differently, it's all still the same culture. A culture that many would simply pass by and dismiss on songs like Rain in Soho, which laments the loss of goth culture and serves as a great opener to set the stage. It's why the sound of this album works so damn well. It's not remotely goth, but it's grounded in reality rather than the theatricality of the goth scene, giving the strong impression of a goth living in the real world, facing real-life struggles. But the culture itself had its dark sides and even drawbacks as well. Both Unicorn Tolerance and The Grey King and the Silver Flame Attunement deal with this, as the former shows a young person who's obsessed with fantasy and many things that would be considered ungoth-like, all of which he gave up in order to be accepted to fit in, and the latter showing just how overwhelming the transition and the imagery in that culture can be. It's not for everyone.
Try hard to look hard behind my blackout sunglasses, but I have high unicorn tolerance. I have high unicorn tolerance.
For me though, the best example comes on Paid in Cocaine, which has an old goth rock star reminiscing about the life he used to lead, where he would occasionally accept cocaine as payment, mainly because there was no money to give, and hey, it's better than nothing. Honestly, the closest parallel that I can think of to what this album does is my favorite album of last year, Teens of Denial by Car Seat Headrest, which dissected the teenage mind and struggle like no other before it. And look, I can't relate to this album in the same way I could relate to that one. I have a lot of friends who are goths, but I don't consider myself to be one. I haven't earned that title. But still, this album celebrates and dissects the culture so well, and with such beautiful music along the way, that it really did strike me. As I said, it may not be quite my favorite by the Mountain Goats, but it's still a damn excellent release. One of their best, getting a 9 out of 10. Fantastic work. John Darnielle and the rest of the band, you guys have made something special with this. Something that will resonate with a lot of people on a really deep level. So, on behalf of all of those people, and really anyone who cares about this level of care when it comes to the crafting of music, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. And thank you guys for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. If there are any other albums coming out in the next month or so, please post them in the comments or tweet them at me at the Social Tune, link in the description. There'll be more reviews coming out for records that I didn't review before my mid-year list soon, although you'll probably see them in a record roundup. I'll get around to it soon. I really just had a lot to say about this one. It really does deserve it. Anyway, please subscribe so you don't miss a thing, and until the next time, I'm Finn, and this is the Social Tunes signing off.